What if an ordinary technician in deep space was suddenly chosen by a mysterious alien princess to save her dying planet, through a bond that could reshape the fate of two worlds? In just moments, his quiet life turns into an epic journey filled with cosmic energy, ancient prophecy, and a choice that could change the stars forever. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to our channel and show a thumbs up by liking the video. It really helps us grow. Now, let's dive into this unforgettable story that begins with one strange encounter and leads to a destiny beyond the stars. The silence inside the orbiting station felt heavier than usual. Joren, a quiet technician with more years behind him than he liked to admit, moved down the metal corridor with a toolkit in hand. The low hum of the station's generators filled the air like background music he barely noticed anymore. He had been on this outpost for weeks, just another repair job in deep space. There were no emergencies, no excitement, and certainly no surprises. That's how Joren liked it. Predictable, manageable, and quiet. But something was off today. He couldn't explain it, but there was a feeling crawling up his spine like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. He shook it off, thinking maybe he was just tired or hungry. Still, when the lights flickered briefly and the hum shifted in pitch, he stopped walking. A strange sound echoed down the corridor. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't the sound of pipes or hissing valves. It was something else. Soft, electric, almost like a whisper mixed with static. Joren frowned. He turned toward the sound, letting his instincts guide him. He passed empty crew quarters, storage rooms, and the cafeteria. No one else was around. Most of the crew had gone back to the surface weeks ago, and only a skeleton crew remained. But as far as Joren knew, he was the only one on this level today. The sound led him to a wide observation window at the far end of the hall. It was one of his favorite spots on the station. He would sometimes take his lunch there, staring out into the star-filled void, losing track of time. Today the view was different. Something in the distance shimmered, like the air itself was bending. His eyes squinted. He leaned closer. At first it looked like a star, then a comet. But neither of those moved like this. It came closer, brighter by the second, glowing with strange light. Then in a flash so intense he had to shield his eyes, the shape solidified. Floating just outside the station's range was a ship. But not just any ship. It didn't resemble any design Joren had ever seen. Its surface flowed like liquid but held its shape, shimmering as if it were made of metal and light at once. It moved with perfect silence, not disturbing the space around it. Joren's breath caught in his throat. For a moment he didn't know whether to call for backup, run, or stay and keep watching. The ship stopped just outside the docking bay. No weapons were visible, no sounds, no signals, just silence and presence. Then a panel on its side opened with a slow, smooth movement. A soft glow spilled from within. Joren's legs moved on their own. He walked to the docking bay, his pulse hammering in his ears. He didn't even realize he was holding his breath. And then, she appeared. Stepping through the ship's opening was a tall woman, or at least a figure shaped like one. She wore a gown that shimmered like it was woven from light. Her skin had a soft golden glow, and her eyes, calm but intense, seemed to see everything at once. Her hair flowed behind her, silver with faint streaks of pale blue, styled in a way Joren had never seen before. She looked like she belonged to the stars themselves. Joren froze. He felt like a kid again, caught sneaking into a room he wasn't allowed in. She stepped forward, her movements fluid, almost like a dance. When she stopped a few feet from him, her voice broke the silence. "You," she said, her voice calm, clear, and oddly familiar. "You are the one I have come for." Joren blinked, not sure he'd heard right. He glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out and say this was some kind of joke. No one came. "Sorry," he said, stumbling over his words. "What?" Her gaze didn't waver. "You are the one chosen. You must join with me. Our future depends on it." His mouth opened, then closed. then opened again. Join you? Like, what does that even mean? You are to marry me, she said, just like that. As if she were commenting on the weather, Joren let out a nervous laugh. Look, I don't know who you are or where you're from, but I think you might be, confused. I'm not anyone important. I fix things, that's it. She took a step closer. There was no threat in her movement, no weapon in her hand, but somehow her presence carried weight. Your role is greater than you know. You are part of something much larger. You are not here by accident. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. Okay, let's just slow down. You come out of a glowing ship, tell me I'm supposed to marry you, and act like I'm supposed to just go along with that? Who even are you? I am Naela, she said, Princess of Sirea. My world is dying, and you, Jorn, are the one who can save it. He shook his head. How do you know my name? Her expression softened just slightly. Because I've seen you before. Not in person. In the visions passed down through generations. You were always the one. Joren staggered back a step. This couldn't be real. It sounded like a bad sci-fi story. And yet, there she was, glowing, serene, and completely serious. He looked out the window again. The ship was still there, waiting, silent, unfathomable. Joren didn't know whether to run, wake up, or take a leap into the unknown. But one thing was certain. His quiet, ordinary life had just ended. Whatever this was, it had only just begun. Joren sat in stunned silence, the hum of the alien ship surrounding him like a soft echo of a dream he hadn't asked to be in. Across from him sat Naela, the mysterious princess from the distant planet Sirea, whose presence still felt unreal. Her silver-blue hair shimmered faintly under the soft light of the ship's interior, and her calm expression showed no sign of doubt. Joren, on the other hand, was full of it. Doubt, disbelief, and a rising sense of panic. He had followed her. He still couldn't say why. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe something deeper, something he couldn't name. But now, inside, a ship that felt more like a living organism than a machine, he questioned everything. What had he gotten himself into? You haven't told me why me, Joren said at last. You say your world is dying. Okay. But why am I part of this? What could I possibly do that someone else couldn't? Naela looked at him for a long moment before answering. It's not just your presence. It's your connection to something ancient. Our ancestors saw a vision of a human who would form a bond strong enough to awaken the heart spire, the crystal that holds the key to stabilizing our planet's energy. Joren rubbed his temples. Okay, but what's this bond you keep talking about? I don't even know you. We've spoken for maybe 20 minutes and you're saying we're supposed to, what? Get married? Save a planet? That's a lot to drop on someone who was fixing air filters this morning. Naela's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but something close. I understand how strange this must seem, but we don't have time to ease into this. The bond we must form is not just a marriage in the human sense. It's a fusion of energy and intention. Our union activates the heart spire. Without it, the energy within stays locked and my world falls into ruin. A soft chime echoed through the chamber as another figure entered. He was older than Naela, with kind eyes and a calm presence that filled the room. His robes were different, more structured, with golden threads that glowed faintly as he moved. This is Tellen, Naela said. My advisor and the keeper of rituals. Tellen nodded politely to Joren, then spoke in a gentle voice. I have studied the old texts since I was a child. The bond is not just legend, Joren. It is written in the stars and recorded in energy flows we can now measure. The human's role, your role, was foretold, not invented. Joren exhaled sharply. But I don't feel special. I don't feel chosen. I'm just a guy who prefers machines to people. Tellen smiled. Often it is those who least expect greatness who are called to it. Joren looked away. He wanted to believe it wasn't real, that any second now someone would call it all off, tell him it was a test or a prank. But the ship hummed around him with quiet intent. The glowing lights responded to movement. It was alive, aware, and deep down part of him already knew this was real. "I'm scared," he admitted quietly. "I don't know what I'm doing. I've never even thought about marriage, let alone whatever this is." Nayla stepped closer, her voice softer now. "You don't have to have all the answers. I don't either. But we are here. The timing is no accident, and together we can make something stronger than either of us alone." There was something in her tone that reached him. Not just urgency, but hope. A quiet hope, the kind that came after too many disappointments, too many close calls. She wasn't just trying to save her people. She was trying to believe this solution could still work. Joran stood slowly. "Okay. Say I go along with this. What happens next?" Tellin walked toward a nearby panel and pressed his hand to it. The wall shimmered, then shifted to reveal a glowing path. "We begin the bonding ritual. It's not binding in the way your people understand. Not yet. But it is the first step to align your energy with Nayla's. The Heartspire must feel the bond forming before it can awaken." Joran looked to Nayla, then to the path. He didn't feel brave. He felt like a man halfway, between a nightmare and a miracle, but some part of him knew running would only haunt him later. "All right," he said, his voice barely louder than a whisper. "Let's see where this leads." As they walked down the path, Joran felt a strange warmth building in his chest. The ship reacted to them, lights growing brighter, walls shifting like waves. This was no ordinary place. And he, ordinary as he thought he was no longer living an ordinary life. In the next room, a glowing pedestal stood in the center, atop which floated a crystal the size of a basketball. It pulsed slowly, dim and tired, as if waiting for something to stir it awake. "The Heartspire," Nayla said, standing beside him, "the heart of our world. It has waited for you longer than you've been alive." Joran looked at the crystal, then at her. "And you're sure? I'm really the one?" Nayla didn't hesitate. "I've never been more sure of anything." Joran stepped forward. He still didn't understand everything, but for now understanding could wait, because whether or not he believed in fate, this was happening, and something told him this was only the beginning. The corridor leading to the heart of the ship grew warmer with each step, not from heat, but from a strange, steady pulse that vibrated through the floor and into Joran's feet. It reminded him of a heartbeat, soft but strong, like the ship itself was alive and preparing for something important. Nayla walked beside him in silence, her expression calm but focused. Behind them, Advisor Tellin moved with quiet grace, his eyes fixed ahead as if following a path only he could see. Joran didn't ask questions. He had too many of them, and none that would change what was coming. Instead, he watched the walls shift around them, glowing lines rippling like waves on the ocean. Every part of the ship felt alive, like it knew him now, like it had accepted him. It was comforting and unsettling all at once. They reached a tall, curved doorway that opened as they approached, revealing a grand chamber that took Joran's breath away. The walls shimmered with soft light, casting reflections like ripples on water. In the center of the room, a platform hovered slightly above the ground, and on it sat the Heartspire, the crystal Nayla had spoken of. It floated in the air, spinning slowly, glowing faintly like a candle nearly burned out. Waiting in the chamber was a young woman with short, copper-colored hair and wide, excited eyes. She smiled when she saw them. "You must be Joran," she said warmly. "I'm Lima. I help maintain the ship's navigation systems, and I've also been waiting for this day for a long time." Joran gave a nervous nod. "Seems like everyone's been waiting for me." Lima laughed softly. "More like we've been hoping. And now you're here?" Nayla stepped onto the platform and turned to face Joran. "This is where we begin. The bond ceremony is ancient. It goes beyond culture or tradition. It's how we call on the Heartspire, how we connect our energy to it, and to each other." Tellen moved to a nearby console and placed both hands on it. The chamber darkened slightly, and the crystal began to glow brighter. "This is not a performance," he said gently. "There are no guests, no audience. Only you, Joran, and Nayla. The bond must be real." Joran stepped up onto the platform beside Nayla. The air around them felt heavier now, charged with something he couldn't explain. He could feel his own heartbeat speeding up, matching the slow throb of the crystal's glow. Nayla turned to face him fully. She held out her hands. "If you are ready, place your hands in mine." Joran hesitated only a second, then reached out. The moment their hands touched, a wave of warmth spread through his body. It wasn't fire, but it felt powerful, like being plugged into something ancient and full of memory. The crystal reacted instantly, glowing brighter, spinning faster, casting beams of soft golden light across the chamber. He looked at Nayla, and for the first time, he saw past the crown, past the glowing skin and regal stance. He saw someone who was just as afraid as he was, someone who carried the weight of a world on her shoulders, yet still reached out to him in trust. Tellen's voice echoed gently across the room. "Let the energy of your bond awaken the flame. Let your joined purpose speak to the crystal." Nayla closed her eyes and Joran did the same. The warmth deepened. Flashes of color danced behind Joran's eyelids, blue and gold, green and silver, flowing like streams of light. He didn't know how, but he could feel Nayla's presence in his mind. Not like thoughts or speech, but a calm certainty, a peaceful connection. It wasn't romantic. It was something older, something rooted in the soul. The light from the heart spire surged suddenly. Joran's eyes flew open as the entire platform lifted into the air. The crystal pulsed like a living star, and strands of light stretched from it, circling around them like threads weaving an invisible cloth. Lima gasped in awe. Even Tellen looked surprised. Then, slowly, the light began to settle. The strands pulled inward, wrapping around Nayla and Joran, forming a glowing band that circled their joined hands. The crystal lowered gently to its original place, its glow now stronger and steadier than before. The platform touched back down with a soft hum, and the chamber brightened again. The glow between their hands faded, but the warmth remained. Joran looked down. A thin band of silver now circled his wrist, etched with small glowing symbols. Nayla had one too. "It's done," she said softly. "The bond is formed." Joran stepped back, breathless. He didn't feel different exactly, but something deep inside him had shifted, like a locked door had quietly opened. Tellen approached, his voice full of awe. "The heart spire responds. It recognizes your bond. The energy is stabilizing. This is only the beginning, but it is more than we hoped for." Joran looked at Nayla. "What happens now?" Nayla's expression had changed. She looked more sure of herself, more powerful. "Now we prepare. The final activation is not here. We must travel to the heart spire's source. That's where the true challenge begins." Lima stepped forward, smiling brightly. "And I'll guide the ship. We'll make it together. All of us." Joran nodded slowly. The fear hadn't left, but something new had taken root alongside it. Purpose. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he knew one thing. He was no longer walking into the unknown alone. The sky above the planet Sirea was no longer calm. Strange streaks of light danced across the upper atmosphere like distant storms, a warning from the star that burned too hot and too wild. Joran stood near the viewing deck of the royal ship, watching the horizon pulse with energy. He had seen a lot since arriving: floating crystals, ancient machines, and a planet wrapped in beauty and danger. But nothing had prepared him for what was coming next. Behind him, Nayla entered the room, her cloak brushing softly against the floor. She stood beside him, following his gaze toward the glowing sky. "The window is closing," she said quietly. "The heart spire must be activated at the core chamber before the next solar surge. If we wait too long, there won't be anything left to save. Joren nodded, but didn't speak. His mind was still swimming with the weight of it all. He had come here a technician, a quiet man with a small life. Now, a whole world, no, two worlds, were counting on him. He felt like a thread in a giant web, fragile and stretched too thin. They were soon joined by Tellin and Lima, both serious but calm. "We've mapped a direct course to the energy nexus," Lima reported, "but it won't be easy. The terrain is unstable and the energy levels are rising. We'll have to move quickly." Joren turned toward them. "And if we don't make it in time?" Tellin answered with a soft sigh. "Then the Heartspire remains silent. The sun collapses. Sirea dies. And your people may never know what they could have prevented." The silence that followed was thick. Joren looked at Nayla, then back toward the pulsing horizon. "I didn't ask for this," he said, voice low but steady. "I didn't ask to be some chosen key to a dying planet." Nayla met his eyes. "Neither did I. I was raised to lead, not to beg strangers from the stars for help. But here we are, and this is the path we've been given." Joren hesitated, then nodded. He didn't need to believe in destiny to see that walking away now wasn't an option. They boarded the small transport vessel that would carry them through Sirea's unstable skies and down into the heart of the planet. As they descended, the sky outside grew darker, streaked with red and gold. Cracks of energy tore across the clouds. The ship rocked and groaned, but Lima kept it steady, her hands moving swiftly across the controls. They landed at the base of a glowing mountain made of crystalline stone. The entrance to the Heartspire chamber stood open, waiting. As they stepped inside, the temperature dropped, and the walls shimmered with strange symbols and slow-moving lights. The Heartspire's true core was here, resting in the center of the cavern like a sleeping giant. It pulsed slowly, as if sensing their arrival. "This is it," Nayla said, stepping forward with Joren. "Together, we will channel the final energy. Our bond is the key. The Heartspire will listen." Joren's breath caught in his chest. Everything they had done had led to this moment. The ceremony, the connection, the trust. It had all built something between them that felt more real now than ever before. He reached out and took Nayla's hand. It was warm and steady. The moment they touched the glowing platform, the Heartspire lit up like a sunrise. Energy burst from its core and circled them, lifting them gently into the air. Joren could feel the heat in his bones, but it didn't hurt. It felt like power, like light, like something ancient waking up. Nayla squeezed. His hand and her voice entered his thoughts, not as sound but as feeling. "Let go of fear. Let the bond carry you." He closed his eyes, letting the energy flow through him. Images flashed in his mind. Nayla as a child, her world whole and green. His younger self working alone in the quiet corners of Earth. The path that had brought them together. It all came into focus now. This wasn't about saving one place or one people. It was about what they could become when they stopped being alone. With a final burst of light, the Heartspire roared to life. The cavern shook and beams of energy exploded upward, breaking through the crust of the planet and reaching into the sky. Outside, the unstable sun began to pulse differently, slower, softer, less violent. The air shifted. The skies calmed. They descended back to the ground slowly, light fading around them. Joren's legs were shaky, but he stayed upright. Nayla turned to him, her eyes full of something new, not just relief, but gratitude, and maybe even affection. Tellin approached with wide eyes. "The readings are clear. The Heartspire is stable. The sun is responding. You've done it." Lima rushed to hug them both. "You saved us. You really did." But Joren didn't feel like a hero. He felt changed. Yes, stronger somehow. But he also felt like someone standing at a crossroads. That night, under a now peaceful Syrian sky, he made his decision. Nayla stood beside him as he looked up at the stars. "You don't have to stay," she said quietly. "You've already given more than we could have asked." Joran nodded. "I need to go home. I don't know who I'll be when I get there, but I need to find out." She didn't argue. Instead, she handed him a small pendant, glowing softly, shaped like the heart spire. "If we ever need you again, this will light the way." He smiled, holding the pendant in his hand. "I'll be watching the stars." And with that, Joran returned to Earth. Not the same man who had left, but one who had touched the heart of another world. And somewhere, in the distance, a bond still pulsed quietly, a reminder that even the smallest spark can change the stars.